Welcome to Better Said Than Written, the podcast that shares inspirational excerpts from books, essays, poems, and quotes that, when read aloud, just sound better said than written. I'm your host, Tamika Cody.
I am somebody. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be young, but I am somebody.
That was the voice of Reverend Jesse Jackson during an episode on Sesame Street dating back to 1972. I wasn't even born yet. On the morning of February 17th, 2026, the world woke up to the news that the civil rights leader had died. He was 84.
America, our time has come.
For more than 6 decades, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. fought for justice and equality.
In a statement this morning, Jackson's family wrote, quote, "Our father was a servant leader, not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked around the world."
The news hit me in a way I wasn't expecting. I started to shuffle through my filing cabinet stored in my hippocampus from when I was a child, and what I remembered was his voice. Strong, certain, rhythmic.
We'll not be on the outside looking in. We will be on the inside, and we will be heard. We will be heard.
I also remembered news humming about the Rainbow Push Coalition. I remember him running for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. I was 9 the first time around and 13 during his second campaign.
If we run, we may lose. If we do not run, we're guaranteed to lose. But in running, we gain our self-respect. And in running, the masses register. In running, our friends can no longer take us for granted.
But back then, I didn't understand what I was hearing. I didn't even understand what it meant to be Black in America. I didn't understand what it meant to be a Black girl growing up in the United States. I didn't understand what it meant to be a child of Black Caribbean immigrant parents who made their way to the land of the free and weave their culture into America's fabric. I just knew Reverend Jackson sounded important.
America's more like a quilt. Many patches, many pieces, many colors, many sizes, all woven and held together by a common thread. The white, the Hispanic, the Black, the Arab, the Jew, the woman, the Native American, the small farmer, the business person, the environmentalist, the peace activist, the young, the old, the lesbian, the gay, and the disabled make up the American quilt.
Now, as I got older, I began to understand that the Rainbow Push Coalition didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was built layer by layer, movement by movement. Its roots trace back to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference's Operation Breadbasket. It's an initiative founded by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that connected faith to economic power. It wasn't just about sermons. It was about jobs, access, dignity. It was about making sure Black communities weren't locked out of opportunities while corporations profited around them. In 1966, Dr. King tapped Jackson to lead Operation Breadbasket in Chicago. Under Jackson's leadership, the work expanded, sharpened, and began to take a life on its own, and it laid the foundation for what would eventually become the Rainbow Push Coalition. In 1984, and again in 1988, Reverend Jackson built a multiracial political alliance that brought together Black voters, Latino communities, poor and working-class white Americans, farmers, labor unions, and marginalized groups who were largely ignored by traditional power structures. It was not just symbolic, it was strategic. It reframed America's politics around economic justice, voting rights, access to education, and investment in communities that had been systematically excluded. Reverend Jackson was building a bigger table. Now, back then, I did not understand the language as a child, but I understood hunger. As many of you probably already know, at the age of 15, I was left to navigate life without parental guidance, and food stopped being a given. I took it upon myself to fill out the free breakfast and lunch forms at school. I forged my mother's signature to qualify. Monday through Friday, during school, that cafeteria tray was survival. I enrolled in summer school, not because I needed the credits, but because I needed the meals, breakfast, lunch, consistency. I was too proud to beg, too proud to dig in the trash, too proud to walk into a restaurant and ask for help. So there were nights I went to bed hungry, and there were days I went without. Now, when I say I have a love-hate relationship with food, I mean this. I love having it, and I hate to be without it. I hate the feeling of not knowing where the next meal is coming from. I hate the vulnerability of it. Now, one of the reasons I push so hard in my life and to strive for success is simple. I do not ever want to be hungry again. Not by circumstance, not by policy, not by neglect. And here is where I understand Reverend Jackson differently as an adult. School lunch programs, minimum wage laws, farm subsidies, urban grocery access. I view these as dignified lifelines. They are the difference between a child concentrating in class and a child counting hours until the next meal. When Reverend Jackson spoke about economic justice, he was referring to the conditions that determine who eats and who does not. There's always going to be politics at the table. Access to food is access to stability, and access to food is access to education, and access to food is access to dignity. While watching his speeches on television, I didn't connect the dots. I just knew adults listened when he spoke. Now I understand why. Is the United States in a strained moment right now? Yes. It feels like the country is under pressure. It feels like rights and resources are constantly being stripped away. Will it ever get better? I'm hopeful, but honestly, I don't know. But here's what I do know. There are more safety nets than there were before. There are more conversations about food scarcity, more advocacy around hunger, more data, and there are more people who are stepping up to the plate to make a change in their own communities instead of waiting for the current presidential administration to have a heart. That progress did not appear out of thin air. It came from people like Reverend Jackson, who organized coalitions, who insisted that economic justice belonged at the center of civil rights, who expanded the national table. I didn't understand any of this as a child, but as an adult who raised 2 Black American children, I overstand. And in my kitchen, where food is culture, memory, and survival, I know this work is personal. I never want to be hungry again, and I do not want any child forging their parent's signature just to eat. Thank you, Reverend Jesse Jackson, for the voice, for the coalition, for reminding this country that who sits at the table matters. And for those of you listening, thank you for taking that small step to hit the play button on this episode of Better Said Than Written. Until next time, I'm Tamika Cody, reminding you that you are somebody. But you know who says it best? Reverend Jesse Jackson.
I am somebody. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be young, but I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody.